Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A quick reminder of our top stories now. Emir of Kano Lamido Sanusi, Senate President Ahmed Lol and state governors demand decentralization of Nigeria's security system in the wake of killings, armed banditry and kidnappings across the country. Acting EFCC Chairman Ibrahim Magu accuses former Petroleum Minister Desiani Alison Madueke and her collaborators of stealing at least $2.5 billion from the nation's coffers, insists she must be extradited to face trial. The Federal High Court stops Independent National Electoral Commission INEC from deregistering 33 political parties as INEC fails to file counter-application to challenge the suit. And leaked documents reveal how China decides fate of hundreds of thousands of Muslims held in a network of internment camps. Welcome. Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Do subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple, Android, Fire and Roku TV. Let's quickly shift over now to our Abuja studios, where Linda Akibe is standing by to take us through a couple of more stories. Good to see you. Been a while, Linda.
Hello, Gimba. Good to see you too, and welcome to Abuja. Now, members of civil society organizations and pressure groups are asking the Senate to expand the scope of a bill against sexual harassment in tertiary institutions to include students in primary and secondary schools. They put forward this position at a public hearing on a bill to prohibit sexual harassment in tertiary institutions. But the national president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, Professor Biodun Ogunyemi, says the proposed legislation fails to take cognizance of extant legislations that deal with sexual harassment. This is one of the rare occasions where you see students taking part in the public hearing in the National Assembly. Their presence here, however, is not misplaced, as they are at the center of a proposed legislation, and their views, just like those of other concerned Nigerians here at this public hearing, is expected to be factored into the bill to prohibit sexual harassment in tertiary institutions in the country.
I'm especially interested in the subject of today's discussion. Sex for grades and sexual harassment is something that's happened to almost every lady.
From the stories I hear, from the victims I know, it should be 8 in 10 girls or 8 in 10 ladies
Are harassed.
Yes, are harassed. And out of the 8, maybe only 2 actually are bold enough and confident enough to go and tell their stories, to report. And out of the 2, only 1 will get justice.
For some of the attendees at this hearing, this proposed legislation is needed in virtually every educational institution in the country.
The domain of harassment of our girls, our students, our female students, goes beyond just the tertiary institutions that have been mentioned. We believe that this should be expanded to cover even primary school and secondary schools.
The last thing we really have asked the National Assembly to do is don't just pass the law. Find a way of monitoring and taking accountability for its implementation by the institutions of learning. To that end, we have recommended that they should ask for an annual report and an audit of sexual harassment incidences and responses that were done by the university.
Inside the hall, the national president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities is not in support of a new legislation to tackle sexual harassment in the country's ivory towers.
If we have a law that addresses issues related to this problem of sexual harassment, why are we wasting time talking about another law? Our concern, Mr. Chairman, sir, is can we go on proliferating laws? Sure. Is that for our country?
This bill proposes up to 14 years jail term with a minimum of 5 years without an option of fine for any lecturer who commits sexual offences against students in tertiary institutions. Around the world, cities are evolving at an unprecedented pace, grappling with profound challenges driven by urbanization, demographics and climate change. City leaders face extraordinary pressures to manage this growth and implement sustainable development strategies. Our correspondent Ayola Kazim looks at SDG 11, which calls for inclusive, safe, resilient and sustainable cities, and how Nigerian cities are performing in meeting the targets.
Meet Yunusa from Matiri in Yobe State. He's fleeing insecurity for a better life in Lagos. Asabe is from Gbogon in Osun State, but a better life in Lagos fascinates her, so she joins the bus to the city. So also is Emeka, an apprentice in Aba. They all join thousands of people who arrive in Lagos daily, contributing to the increase in population, now put at 21 million. This makes it one of 3 megacities in Africa, alongside Cairo with 10 million and Kinshasa with 12 million. Lagos is struggling to live up to its megacity status, and in recent times it came up with a range of unpopular reforms, like restricting the movement of commercial motorcycle and clearing some slums. And behind these evident everyday challenges, we see a range of more long-term risks, like climate change and the impact of air pollution on health, uncertain economic development and rising inequality. They all call into question the current pathways to greater prosperity and the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals.
We need to be able to communicate with the people so well, and I think maybe that's a missing link. But one thing I know is that I'm sure all the basic things, the basic factors must have been built into projects.
How do we work with the solutions that people are putting up themselves and turn them into something that fits within the vision of the city that we all share, which is a city that's resilient, sustainable, inclusive?
Many cities in Nigeria, like Lagos, struggle after decades of underinvestment. Swaths of green areas reserved in Abuja to beautify and give it an eco-friendly ambience have been left to wither and in some cases have become dump sites and places for open defecation. From Benin to Port Harcourt, Kano to Ibadan, and all the major cities across the country is the same story. Electricity a luxury that does not exist, a mountain heap of refuse. But all these city leaders have the opportunity to learn from mistakes in creating centralized large-scale public works.
One of the issues that we tend to overlook in Nigeria is the importance of the local government. So whatever government does, there has to be a top-down approach and also a bottom-up approach.
Nigeria is projected to have almost 1 billion people by 2100, and majority will live in the urban centers. Experts say there is no easy solution and no quick fix.
In the meantime, turning the makeshift and informal settlements into livable and sustainable communities is the greatest challenge of our time. Ayola Kasim, Channels Television News.
Now let's get more insight into Nigeria's quest to attaining the goals highlighted in that report. And we're now being joined on the news by Mr. Yari Kabir, the country representative for UN Habitat. Mr. Kabir, thanks for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you very much.
Now, looking at this report, what kind of policies and strategies should governments and cities, be looking at to build infrastructures for the 21st century, given the scale, speed and inclusion necessary?
Thank you very much. I think first, the most important thing is to find out that most countries that developed had urbanization as their springboard. Most of the prosperous nations had urbanization as it, but most of developing countries, particularly Africa, the urbanization is not planned. So the first and foremost is to plan, to have the governance structure, to have the legislation, and to have the finance. These are the most important ingredients. But to do it, you need policies. There are policies at the national level, what we call national urban policy. And at the city level, you will have master plans You'll have strategies, growth strategies, how to grow, how to expand, inclusion policies, governance policies. So these are the policies. But obviously, each city has to have a plan, a development plan that will guide its development over a period of time. And this development plan will not be static. One interesting thing with Nigerian population is that there are population dynamics. It has been growing. All the cities have been growing large and expanding. Two, after growing, you find out that it is fluid, it's complex. The growth is informal, it's not planned, and it's at the periphery. Sometimes the center, you find high value land, not adequately developed because of the policies that we have had. It is neither the land market, it's neither it's not a free land market, but the land is owned by the government. So if it is a market forces, you'll find out that they will have dense development. But the most important thing is you have to have a master plan. And I don't think we have a number of cities that have functional master plans at the moment.
Is it possible to have a sustainable city without leaving anyone behind?
It is possible, but you have to have a lot of work. One is that when you say sustainable, you talk of sustainability in so many terms. Sustainability in terms of environmental sustainability, in terms of social, in terms of economic, in terms of... That's sometimes we call the issue of resilience. When you are talking of a resilient city is the one that after whatever hazard, after shocks, after stresses, the people will still pick up their lives. It could be resilient in terms of disaster. When there is flooding, the people should be able to recover quickly and move. It could be in terms of downturn, economic downturn. You find out that they are moving and find out finally the economy, there is devaluation. The people should be able to identify. But one of the biggest problems we have in Nigeria is the governance structure. Because at the moment, there is no city that has a metropolitan administration. And most of our cities, you find that they have more than one local government, and there is no central coordination.
I'm going to have to cut you there. So thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
When the News at 10 returns, huge prospects for jobs as Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele leads delegation of milk and dairy producing companies for land allocation in Abuja. That's in business news. Join us again.